Hello dear students and welcome to Classic Academy YouTube channel. This video is a part of a series of dissertation chapters. So, in this video, I will guide you about how to effectively do Chapter 1 Introduction. Research is defined as the creation of new knowledge and/or the use of existing knowledge in a new and creative way to generate new concepts, methodologies, and understandings. This could include synthesis and analysis of previous research to the extent that it leads to new and creative outcomes. The research starts with a proposal or synopsis leading to dissertation or thesis. Normally, there are 5 chapters in graduation and master dissertations or theses including Chapter 1 Introduction, Chapter 2 Literature Review, Chapter 3 Research Methodology, Chapter 4 Results and Discussion, Chapter 5 Conclusions and Recommendations. The purpose of Introduction chapter is to justify the topic of the dissertation or research project. To make this successful, the student should do the following. Introduce the topic and its context, background. Locate the topic within current academic literature. Draw from non-academic literature sources, for example, specific company literature, government reports, newspapers, etc., to demonstrate the wider relevance of the topic. Show the contemporary nature of the study. Write research questions to be studied as a logical consequence of the argument they have constructed. Summarize the chapter and introduce the next chapter. This introduction chapter is always critical as it provides whole idea of the research including the direction, reasons, and ideas. Before going ahead, I would suggest you to subscribe this channel for more informative, knowledgeable, and useful content. Here is the possible outline of this chapter. In the introduction section of the Chapter 1, you will introduce the whole idea of the chapter to refine the reason for this study to be conducted. In many occasions, it was found that the researcher will utilize this section by presenting the main issue of the study in general in order to attract the attention of the readers to research focus. The background section should inform the reader about the problem or the situation and the context you are interested in. In this section, you will establish the importance of the topic. Include history or background of the topic. Write in chronological order. Provide proper referencing. If your research on any case study organization or country, then you can describe its history or background. The problem statement section should be very strong as your research is based on addressing the key research problems. Elaborate this section with strong arguments and solid reasoning. In this section, you will include why this specific topic is worth researching, why this is a good way to research it, describe the key research problem and its impact, why it is important to address this issue at this time, describe other problems triggered due to this problem. Thus the research rationale is clear. Highlight literature or knowledge gap in the field of study. Why the gap exists. Develop a need to address literature gap with strong arguments and provide valid and authentic references. In this section, you need to list down objectives based on the issues that you identified and verified in the problem background. In certain situations, you may have primary and secondary research objectives. So, in this section, you will clearly state aim based on the title or subject of the research. Your aim must be your key interest area. Your research title must be focused, narrow, and not too general. You need to set clear research objectives. Finally, your objectives must comply with aim of the study. In this section, you need to list down the variables of the study which normally be presented in a question form. Usually the research questions should align with the research objectives where most of the time are considered as guidance to the study's direction. Specific words like is there, what, and how are examples which are commonly be found in many research reports. Before writing the research question, you will need to describe why your research questions are important. Use 5 W's: why, what, when, where, who, and 1 H, how. Hypotheses are normally be seen in quantitative studies where testing out such situation like differences, correlation, effects, prediction, and so on. Normally there are two types of hypothesis: null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Another important point with hypothesis is that it can provide guidelines in constructing model. In this section, the researcher needs to explain all studied variables and explain how they relate to each other. Providing a specific diagram is very useful in understanding how the variables are associated with each other. Usually a very informative framework will explain how the connection between variables exists by drawing arrows in the diagram. There are two types of definitions can be provided in this section: conceptual definitions and operational definitions. Usually, the researcher needs to provide the terms and definitions from previous studies and dictionaries. But later you must offer specific explanation regarding all terms and concepts being used by stating how different terms apply in the study operationally. Finally, at the end of this chapter, you need to provide a brief summary of the chapter. Precise and concise conclusion of the discussion is the key elements for this section. You must conclude the chapter's discussion by compressing the whole idea in a brief but with comprehensive explanation. One of the tricks for this section is that the researcher must be able to attract the attention of the reader to the next chapter. You can watch next video for the instructions and guidelines for chapter 2 literature review.